Welcome back. Now, Business Leadership South Africa is lobbying for South African companies to resume trading in the UK. This as South Africa remain one of the countries from which travel to the UK is banned due to the coronavirus. BLSA CEO Busi Mavuso joins us now for a conversation of this. Thank you so much, Sis Busi, for joining us for this discussion. I mean, you've written a letter now to the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson. What case have you made in campaigning for the UK to remove us on their red list?
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for granting us this opportunity. So I think the facts that the UK still has, which have made South Africa to remain on the red list, are actually incorrect. So they keep on harping on the fact that South Africa still has the beta variant, and they are worried that if they allow travel uninhibited between South Africa and the UK, then it's actually going to it's going to make the beta variant to be more prevalent in the UK, and that is definitely not the case. And you would remember that this was the reason why we were actually put on the red list in the first place. In December 2020, when the beta variant hit South Africa, they decided, along with other 6 countries, to actually put us on the red list. But South Africa is a country that no longer has the beta variant, and this has been confirmed by the National Institute for Communicable Diseases. So the UK clearly hasn't updated their science, Clement, because they keep on harping, on this issue, which is actually incorrect. And their facts are clearly incorrect because they are also alleging that all these new variants that are actually coming in are coming from South Africa, and that is not the case. They're actually making the case that the C.1.2 variant, comes from South Africa, and this is a variant that in our case has just been detected early by our scientists, because they are on the ball and they are doing their work. But the variant, exists in 10 other countries. So we therefore don't understand, why they are choosing to ignore the evidence-based facts, that we have put in front of them in terms of where South Africa is at the moment and the interventions that we've put in place to actually manage the variant. And we have done particularly well.
Yeah, I mean, our genome sequencing, Sis Busi, has been brilliant. Our scientists have been doing an amazing job in making sure that we detect some of these variants, even before some of these countries who are now looking down on us can even detect them. Which companies have you enlisted that are campaigning with you? I mean, there are big companies here that are affected as a result of this.
So if you look at the fact that the JSE is 85% foreign owned, then that tells you that a lot of the companies that belong to the PLSA, a lot of the companies that are domiciled in South Africa actually have, presence, in a whole lot of other countries, especially Europe. So we've got BMW, we've got JP Morgan, we have got Nestle, we've got all the big banks, in the country, we've got a lot of the JSE listed companies, and I think we've provided a list, of all the PLSA members who are actually calling for the UK government to actually, move South Africa to the amber list, as it were, But the big issue for us, from an economic perspective especially, is the fact that, UK is a key trading partner for South Africa. We trade natural resources and beneficial exports, among other things. They are also an important financial market as we raise significant capital on London's financial markets. So the UK is also a huge source for our tourism industry. So the ban clearly, Clement, has had a devastating impact on South Africa's already embattled tourism sector. Pre-COVID, you would have seen that we were getting about 450,000 arrivals from the UK, making it the biggest international travel source, and it's estimated that the ban is costing South Africa, more than 2.4 billion in lost tourism spend. So when you look at, the facts, on the table and the impact, not only in the South African context, but in the UK context as well, because they've actually viewed, Africa as a continent as a key strategic partner. There are serious long-term prospects, an investment that the UK has actually made into Africa. So it therefore doesn't make sense why they're actually choosing to be obstinate, why they're actually choosing to ignore the facts in front of them, why they're actually choosing to continue sabotaging, the trade relations and the trade, and they are actually overlooking the trade impact, that this ban is actually having on the two countries, which makes it a lose-lose situation, really.
Yeah, and I mean, as you say, it doesn't make sense as well that even our rate of infection is lower than the UK's. And if you look at our vaccination drive, we've made, some progress with our vaccination drive. And traditionally, South Africa would be looking forward to an influx of high-spending tourists from the UK and other key markets like the US, France, etc. So the 2.4 billion rand that you mentioned that has been lost so far, if we remain on this list, our tourism industry is really going to take a knock. Are you working with government on this? Have they tried to intervene? I know I've heard the Minister of International Relations, Naledi Pandor, indicating that they are trying to have discussions with their counterparts. I mean, is it working? Are they not listening?
So government has actually done a brilliant job, with Minister Naledi Pandor, as you have said, who's actually leading the charge in as far as this is concerned. So there are a lot of stakeholders that we are engaging as South Africa to try and lobby, the UK, so that we can actually hopefully influence them towards removing us from the red list. I know also, that there's been a lot of talks with James Statridge, who's the Minister of Africa in the UK. And there are a lot of sympathetic ears, in the political sphere in the UK who are actually also trying to work with South Africa to actually plead, the South African case, as it were. We have been informed that I think about 14 countries are actually going to be removed from the red list on Thursday. So we are actually hoping, and those countries that have been earmarked, for being removed, South Africa is actually on that list, So I think that the work that has been done by government, the noises that has been made by our tourism sector, business now lending its voice, and key companies that actually have presence in the UK as well, all of those, are efforts that hopefully will actually allow South Africa to actually move from the red list, hopefully to the amber list. You're raising an important fact, that we're actually getting to the festive season very soon. And normally there is a lot of UK tourists who actually, prefer South Africa, as a tourist destination, especially around this time. So it therefore doesn't make sense, that this ban should actually continue to be. And as you are saying, Clement, when you look at the rate of infections, we currently have lesser infections than what the UK has. Our infections are actually sitting at about 25%, of what the UK is getting on a daily basis. But it also doesn't make sense. All the other countries have removed us from the red list, at least the 6 that had us initially. Greece has actually made a statement, Germany rather has actually made a statement to say that South Africa no longer is an issue, and they no longer have the variant of concern. So I think it is just the UK and Australia which are insisting, on keeping South Africa on this list. And in that way, the UK is really increasingly becoming an outlier in this regard, because they are choosing to ignore the fact that all the other countries have actually considered in making the move towards removing South Africa from their red list.
Yeah, indeed. And it's not just affecting us, it's affecting them as well. Thank you so much for talking to us. That's the CEO of Business Leadership South Africa, Busi Mavuso.